Chris Redfield is the greatest agent the BSAA has, and probably the best chance that humanity has against the various forms of bioterrorism in the Resident Evil universe. After not posting content in a while, I thought why not drop a Halloween themed video that tackles the stats of one of the best horror game protagonists to grace our gaming platforms in recent memory. Now I know I could have chosen someone else from the Resident Evil universe, such as the Hollywood-esque Leon S. Kennedy or Albert Wesker, who is most definitely more impressive when it comes to physical stats. However, I felt that choosing Chris is the most appropriate, considering that while alongside Jill Valentine, he was the first protagonist to face the horrors of Umbrella. Though before I start, I would like to mention that Chris both got stronger and even arguably weaker throughout the course of the franchise. For example, it's stated by Yoshihiro Anpo, the production director of RE5, that Chris trained and got stronger between his respective encounters with Wesker. And the RE5 Kaito Shinso also notes that he packed on 20 kg of extra muscle. Such is the opposite for RE6, however, as noted within the in-game files for Chris's career and another one surrounding the events that occurred while he disappeared. Chris was injured and had lost his memory after a traumatizing loss to Neo Umbrella.
Still trying to wrap my head around what I'm seeing here.
This in itself would have diminished Chris's skills in combat. So based on the evidence we have, Chris in his prime would have appeared within the titular 5th game of the main series. Now with that out of the way, allow me to begin the scaling. Chris's feats and scaling regarding his physical AP and durability would put him in the wall to small building range. This comes from a variety of sources, with the first being Chris's ability to easily knock down metal doors and rock pillars with one leg. He can also easily break the necks of various enemies such as the Margini, and he has as well showcased the ability to one-shot zombie dogs as seen in the Mahua Desire manga. The official Resident Evil 5 web manual states that Chris has unparalleled attack power within the BSAA. This would automatically put him above characters like Sheva Alomar and Josh Stone, both of whom can easily shatter the heads of enemies. For reference, the energy required to crush a human skull in a single, swift motion would come out to 3.496 to the 4th joules of energy. To add consistency to this, not only can Chris perform similar feats, but he's also capable of physically harming or even killing larger, deadlier BOWs, such as the Hunters and the Big Man Magini. He is also more than capable of harming the Magini Executioner, who is capable of easily destroying walls and tanking heavy gunfire, as seen in-game and confirmed via statements from the Resident Evil 5 guidebook and Archives 2 book. When it comes to the AP of his weapons, Chris is able to boast an impressive arsenal, though it is worthy to mention that while the weapons he utilises in-game do resemble those in our own world, they are able to become stronger, which is based upon a statement from Jin Takeuchi, who even said that the combat knives Chris uses are able to harm regular enemies and even bother larger scale BLWs. The standard issue weapons are also able to greatly injure enemies, i.e. the shotgun that is more than capable of mowing down hordes. As for the durability side of things, he's been shown to take an almost direct hit from an RPG and walk it off with 0 injuries. He's also able to survive strikes from a Tyrant type BOW, whose
biological weapon,
whose punches were easily able to break holes in concrete. I think it's also worthy to note that even the first successful Tyrant model was capable of breaking through a wall, with the feat itself being calced at being small building level. He's also capable of taking hits from progenitor virus Wesker, who is compared to a completed BOW and stated to be easily able to impale his hand through human beings, and demonstrates this when he kills Oswald Spencer. Consistently demonstrates the ability to dodge gunfire from different types of weaponry. An example of this would be when he takes on Glenarius for the second time, who was stated to wield a long magazine Glock 18.
Arius is also extremely proficient in the use of his preferred firearm, a long magazine Glock 18.
He doesn't bother Chris, as he's able to easily evade the gunfire from Arius despite being in close proximity with one another. A Glock 18 has a muzzle velocity of 375 meters per second, which translates to transonic. I previously mentioned that Chris went up against a Tyrant type BOW. Well, it's worthwhile to mention that even the T2 model was capable of deflecting a rocket missile, putting its combat reaction speed at supersonic. Chris of course scales to this due to the encounter I mentioned earlier. However, he also scales to Leon S. Kennedy, thanks to their fight in Resident Evil 6, with Leon himself being able to react and outrun fully automatic gunfire from multiple soldiers. Now I attempted to get a closer look at the gun models used by the soldiers, and they appear to resemble a form of Heckler and Koch MP5. This type of gun has a muzzle velocity of 400 meters per second, again putting the combat reaction time of the characters at supersonic. Chris does also have some impressive feats where he reacts to progenitor virus Wesker. However, it's important to note that Wesker is extremely arrogant, and even stated that he was only playing with Chris and Sheva.
7 minutes.
so I think it'd be fair to chalk those instances up to Wesker being very suppressed. Chris has been stated to be the BSAA's most experienced member and their ace in the hole, with his knowledge and instinct being stated to be unparalleled within the organisation. His combat skills have also been praised dozens of times, with them also being one of the reasons that Barry Burton recommended him for a position within STARS. This is impressive due to the fact that STARS is described as an elite sub-branch of the Raccoon City Police Force. His marksmanship is also consistently stated and portrayed as the best out of practically anyone in the verse, based on various statements, as well as the fact that he was able to tag Jill Valentine when she was amped by the P-30 toxin. It's also worth to note that Chris has been mentioned to be extremely adept in various types of weaponry, with a quote from the Resident Evil Archives 1 book stating that he has battle experience with everything from a handgun to a flamethrower. His skills regarding hand-to-hand combat have been highlighted various times too. In multiple pieces of supplemental material, his hand-to-hand skills have been given phrases such as superior, and that he could easily engage in combat. He's demonstrated the ability to go toe-to-toe with Glenn Arias, who is stated to be a deadly combatant who excels at close.
Arias is a deadly combatant and excels at close quarters combat.
Chris's best combat feat to date is when he's able to competently fight and stalemate Leon S. Kennedy during the events of Resident Evil 6. To get an idea as to how skilled Leon is, we can look at the YouTube video by Godzilla Rex that analyses Leon's various combat feats to give a quantification as to how many martial arts he knows. The result was that Leon is competent in 6 fighting styles, with
They are Taekwondo, Jiu-Jitsu, Pro Wrestling, Kali, Krav Maga, and Sistema.
If that doesn't convince you, then we can look at the events of Resident Evil Damnation, where Leon is able to fight Svetlana Balikova, the former president and military combat instructor of the Eastern Slav Republic. To add one last piece of consistency to Chris's hand-to-hand skills, we can look at a removed unlockable costume from the Resident Evil 1 remake. This costume appears to be a martial arts gi that relates to either karate or judo. Despite being removed, this would go to show even more consistency with his expertise in martial arts. I think that everything I presented within the scope of this video has given Chris's skills and stats justice within the scope of the Resident Evil franchise. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this topic and learned something new. I'll also be adding the links to the various sources that helped me create this video, i.e. Godzilla Rex, Project Umbrella, and the Twitter user Mateus Redfield. Another notable mention would be my buddy Crisis, who designed the thumbnail for this video. So to bring the video to a close, I'd like to say like, subscribe, stay safe, and happy Halloween.